Hi, Jenny Funkmeyer here, talking about self-publishing today. I feel like I'm really qualified to talk about self-publishing because I am an author of many books I've been writing ever since I was a little child, and I've consistently self-published things I wrote. This is a self-bound copy, hand-bound. I learned how to make my own hardcover book. I also have printed them in, at printers. And then when the internet become available to make my own books, I published this book called Magnum Opus, the most important work of my life. Book 1, Change is Not for the Faint-Hearted. Magnum Opus, Book 2, Love and Sex in the Fifth Dimension. Jump Off the Cliff. A book about my lover man, him. And even published his book. Yeah, he published his own book, but he publishes my book. So I feel like I can pretty much talk about and I'm going to be a panelist on the Indie Author Day by the Los Angeles Public Library Literacy Program, Adult Literacy Program. Thank you to my friend Rick, who has invited me to be a panelist. Okay, so this here about publishing is special for author. This is a parallel university idea that you should always publish, you should always be writing. Journaling is one of the most important aspects of self-discovery, self-knowledge, and in parallel university, I advocate writing down everything because once you write, it goes up to the Akashic record, you upload it, you publish it, you are done with that memory, man. You don't have to remember anything. It will be remembered by other people. And how good is that? So that it doesn't have to jam up your tiny little computer in here, your brain, and you can just use the big brain in the field. So publishing is very important concept in the parallel university, and I think everyone should be writing all the time and sorting out their emotions and learning about themselves, and therefore writing is very important. And then writing, you need to publish, you need to put it up somewhere, you have to take it out of your head. This is going to be 4 videos on for authors. This is the first one. It's called The Steps to Self-Publishing. Then I'm going to go through the steps of traditional publishing. And then I'm going to go through the spiritual perspective of publishing. And then finally, marketing for self-published authors. So there's going to be 4 videos. Look for them. Okay, so let's go into the steps to self-publishing. The first thing to self-publishing is to write your book. That's really easier said than done. A lot of times we don't write. We can't write. We have problems writing. Well, those are very real. It's really true. It's hard to write. On the other hand, it's also really easy to write. What I do is when my mind is thinking incessantly about something, I said, whoa, you know what? I'm just going to take a book, take out my computer and just write down all those thoughts. And I did that for years. Years. I started with as a very young girl, I kept a diary, and all my confusion, all my pains, all my lost love, and all my questions about life, all the shitty things that happened in my life at that time, or the great things that happened in my life, I just wrote them all down in my diary. And I ended up with about 30 books of diary with little writing. So to me, writing was never difficult because of that. It's like my mind just think crazy, just crazy thoughts, just thinking, and I just wrote them down. That's because I'm from a generation in which the internet wasn't even invented. That's how old I am. So there was no way to really publish that. The only way was, I made excerpts and I send them out as Christmas cards. That's my self-publishing in those days. I also write down, made picture books of many kinds, and I gave them away. So that's my publishing at that time. And then came one year during my big cleanup of my past life in 2007. I was looking at all those diaries, and instead of finding them precious, I just find them totally like, ugh, I don't want to go there. Jesus Christ, I wrote them down already. So I tossed them all. When I tossed them all, I had a pain in my heart and in my stomach. It was horrible for about, I forgot how long. I think I had anxiety attack for about 3 days. And then I had complete regret for about a month. And then ever since that time, I love it. I never miss it. Almost feels like that person who wrote all those things down in the diary just kind of perished and died. I let her go. So that writing went into the in those days that wasn't even recycling bin. That's how long it was ago. I mean, excuse me, freak out. There isn't even recycling bin. I just tossed them into the garbage, which was really painful. It was really painful. So I know, wow, I'm taking a lot of time. I'm not talking about self-publishing. Anyway, that's a form of self-publishing. But anyway, I cleaned them all out. It was gone, and I felt renewed. It was gone. I'm sure one day when I become like an extremely famous person, it would have been nice to keep them, and people could. I have this fantasy that they would buy them as museum items. But okay, it's gone. Fine. So the next way I self-published was I made books and I sold them wherever I can do. I can get them sold because they were color pages. It was really expensive, and then the bounding and everything, I had to sell them for $40, which was not a good and practical thing. So then I realized, oh well, no one, other than my mom, it's going to like buy them. So now the internet happened. While I was doing all this stuff, the internet happened, thanks to Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, Hewlett Packard, all that stuff that happened, UCLA, whoa, the internet. Thank God there's a way to reach the Akashic record, to reach the field of all collective memories all together. And so all these books are now on the Jenny Funkmeyer DIY No More Glasses Soul Retrieval, all this stuff is on my Amazon site, iBooks and Kindle. And it's all, it's not on Amazon, it's on iBooks and Kindle and Amazon too, I think. Anyway, Jenny Funkmeyer, if you look for these books, they are for free download. Free download, because it is much better that it goes to you than it stays with me, because as long as it goes completely to you, I don't have to keep those memories. Those memories are going to be so good for you, and I don't have to remember them. Luminosity. Lots of good ideas. Anyway, they are all on the internet and it's for free. So a writer writes. The next thing I did was I actually learned how to bind books, and I bound my first books in hardcover, and then I placed them in bookstores that were friendly, that liked me, that I go and buy books and they already know me, and so I placed them as collector items, but they didn't really sell either. They did sell some, and of course then there's Amazon and all that, and we're going to go into that. Now it's available for purchase, even has ISBN number. Okay, so the first thing to self-publishing is you have to write. You have to begin by just writing, and you whatever way you do, joining a workshop is great. Just having other people that write, talking to other people that write, all that helps you write. My thing is I love traveling, so I make it so that I can travel to really exciting places like Rome and Paris and Barcelona. And while I'm there, I go to the coffee shops and I write in the coffee shops. So it gives me a meaning to my life, because I would be able to write in the morning when my brain is really very active. It's going in this incessant loop of talking and thinking about all kinds of stuff, and just write them down. And that's why I write memoirs. My life is my most important work. Magnum opus, one's most important work, right? That means basically I'm just writing down my life story. Well, I can write that. That's really easy. But then maybe you have a story in you, like you have like a muse that just comes to you and tell you things all the time. Well, write that down. Maybe you have a tremendous hatred for your stupid, ex-spouse. Well, you want to scream at him or her, and you want to just get that anger out, get that passion out. Or you're completely in love with some boy or girl, and then you gotta say these things. So that becomes Byron, that becomes poetry. So it's not difficult to write if you just kind of listen to what your head is doing, instead of trying to write something that really is not you. It's like it's not happening here. Then that's difficult to write. But if you just kind of sit there and just kind of, what is my mind is doing today, and just write that down. And then for people who write drama, I do that. I write screenplays. I have written about 10 screenplays, and actually 3 of them has been made into movies, and I still have screenplays circulating out there. So I do write drama. I love movies, and so I see scenes and I write the scenes down. I don't ever follow the traditional way of outlines, and so I just kind of write, and then I look at what I write, and from what I write, I formulate the story by fitting it into a 3-act structure. So that's how I write drama, and then that's how just writing down whatever comes to my head, and remembering certain event in my past life is how I write my memoir. And then from my memoir, I will then write, I would then find the steps that are from the memoir, and formulate them into another book, which is here called Jump Off the Cliff, 13 Steps to the Real You. I have my co-author here, Otis Funkmeyer, who is the man that I talk about in him, and who also wrote his own book, This Is How You Think. So I do have other people that I write with because I love the energy of other people. It really inspires me. Writing alone it's definitely necessary for me, and that's why I can't write while someone I know is in the room, because I'm really scared that this person is suddenly going to go, oh, hello, Jenny? Huh? It just takes me out of the whole thing. But in a coffee shop, I have the benefit of other people. I have the benefit of being in the world, and then I can also be alone. So this is kind of like a writer, for me, that it's a lot of writers do that. Actually, a lot of writers write in coffee shop. I have my favorite Starbucks in America. I always go to Starbucks to write, no matter what city I'm in. Like I said, I love traveling, and writing in Starbucks is really wonderful because no matter where I go, there I am in the exact same place, pretty much. I can be in New York, Boston, Philadelphia, some little town in the valley in Los Angeles, or in downtown Los Angeles, or in Culver City. It doesn't matter where I am. There I am in Starbucks. So I kind of like that because I can't really have too much distraction of the beautiful location. Even, say, for example, I wrote a lot of this book, magnum opus, was written in Rome, in the entire back end, the entire back end of Love and Sex in the Fifth Dimension is about how I deal with my jealousy with my husband, having sex with other girls. This is what this book is about. And a lot of that happened in Basilica San Paolo in Rome. And while it was happening, I was writing the book. So, and in Rome, I wrote in the coffee shop of the Love Itself. What a nice title. I wrote inside the Basilica San Paolo. That's like, it can't be more exact memoir. It is a memoir because the chapter in 25 in the book was written in Basilica San Paolo, this huge cathedral coffee shop. I go to the coffee shop every day, and in fact, they know me, and I would say hi, and they know I'm an author from America, and they sometimes they even give me free tea. That's another thing is when you go out of your home. At home, you're like an unpublished author. But then when you go to write in a coffee shop, you end up being an author, because no one, as you're writing, typing away, no one knows you're an unpublished author. They just know that you're an author, you're a writer. So writing is really important, and it all comes from the writing, of course. I mean, the first thing about self-publishing is you have to have the book first. So the next thing you have to know is everyone talks about you have to have an editor. The editor is kind of the content person that discuss with you what you are writing, and it's like the perspective from the audience side, like pointing to each sentence and say, what does this mean? Now this story don't fit into the ending. This is an extraneous part of the story, because so a lot of people said an editor is a very integral and important part of the self-publishing dynamics. But I am the kind of person that I really hate someone telling me about anything. So it's either an advantage or a failing in me that I don't like to write with editor. I don't want anyone to tell me what to do. You know, if I don't like, if a story is extraneous, I am my editor myself. At the end, I actually take it out. So what happens is I write, like I said, I just kind of pour everything into my head every day onto the paper, and then this video is more about writing than about publishing. Okay, anyway, I write them down, and then I let it rest. I kind of let it ferment, sit for a while, and then I go back, and then I edit it. So I am the writer and the editor myself. Then you have a proofreader. Very necessary steps, especially I am Chinese. That's my first language. You know, okay. I won't call you FCK F face no more. Fuck face. So I wrote down fuck face, and my proofreader turned it into F-CK-face. So I'm also a proofreader, go through the entire manuscript and catch all the grammatical mistakes, catch all the misspelling, and also sometimes come up with questions like, well, what does this sentence mean? I have no idea. So they kind of like, they perform the function of the editor for me without telling me, without touching my content. Some proofreader took it upon themselves to rewrite me. Like, no, that's not right. That's, you know, I don't. So over the years, my strict instruction to the proofreader is, it's like poetry, man. My writing is gold. And you are not going to change a word except if it's misspelled, and also do it in track changes. Word has, many writing programs have track changes, so I can prove every proofreading's correction. So that's the process. Then hold on. The book is finished. You have to work with a designer to come up with a design. So I work with my designer. It's also my publisher. It's a man named Otis Funkmeyer and me. And we have this publishing company called the Funkmeyer Bookies. And Otis and I together came up with this design so that it's really easy. Every book is kind of the same. And we could just kind of have one design. This is his own design. So basically, I make our own design, or of course you can hire someone and put pictures. I know these books sort of not look very like traditional published books, and I think there's a certain beauty to me of self-published books that just look self-published. It is what it is. So also, I'm not sure it's going to stay like this. This is just this phase of my books that just kind of look like this right now. And the next phase, when I become like a best-selling author, the day I become, you know, selling 1 million of these books, I think a traditional publisher is going to come to me and said, let us publish your book. And at that time, I would go through the traditional publishing, and maybe, you know, there would still be the self-published version, but there's a traditional published version. But I will talk about that in the next video about traditional publisher. So I self-publish Funkmeyer Bookies with my partner Otis. We publish our own books. We publish the books on Amazon. You can buy copies on iBooks, on Kindle. Those process is very technical. I'm completely untechnical. I am the writer. I am not the technical person. So I couldn't talk about that. I guess there's many videos that you could watch that you will be talking. They'll be teaching you about how to publish it online and so on. How to get physical copies. I am so thankful for my publisher, my husband, Otis Funkmeyer. Thank you very much. I completely bypassed that step. This is not my step in the registration with the Library of Congress, in which I will have an ISBN number so that now I can go to the library and I can try to get the library to buy my books and so on. And I can put it in the Library of Congress and it becomes, you know, an actual book. So I know maybe you are like waiting for me to talk about the technical things about publishing on Amazon, iBooks, Kindle. I am not able to help you here. This is not a technical video. It is it's a poetic video about self-publishing. So once they publish in those places, as I am writing, actually, I started blogging the pieces. I put them, for me, I have a blog site is Medium. So just randomly, whatever I'm writing, I would just, whatever it is that I wrote from that day, I would just publish it on Medium. So if you go to my Medium site, you will see just really random stuff all over the place. But I feel it is my responsibility to put it out into the Akashic records. So I feel it's my responsibility not to hold on to the material. I write it, I put it out. I write it, I put it out. I write it, I put it out. So the blog site, mine is Medium, Jenny Funkmeyer Medium. Just, you know, it's kind of a publishing while I'm writing. And then when the writing is completely done, then I formulate it into one book and then publish it as a book. And as the years go by, I'm having more and more books published. Blogs. I was going to talk something about the blogs. Oh, I was going to talk about Emily Dickinson, who is one of my favorite poets, of course. She wrote 1,700 plus poems, and I've been to her house in Amherst, Massachusetts, Western Mass, and I saw the little desk that she write all her poetry, and the house that and the bed, in fact, the bed that she was born and died in. That lady wrote all these poems, and she only published 3, I think, out of 10 poems that she submitted. She only allowed 3 of them to be published. They were published, and the process was so painful that she stopped. She never had it published again. So she has a little drawer. She writes the poem and she puts in the drawer. She writes the poem and she puts in the drawer. She does publish her poem while she was alive in letters. She would write letters to people that includes her poems. And people have, you know, handwritten Emily Dickinson letters with her poems in it, and they have become very valuable collector's item, of course. And after she died, and she was there alive with her sister, both of them were spinsters, they never married. No, the sister married, I think. Not very good in history. I think the sister married, has a husband, but not Emily Dickinson, for sure. She never married. I love her so much. So she, the sister, then